Mark Rogers TV with more coverage on SEC Media Days. It's Wednesday, day 3. We've got one more day to go. We are joined by Daniel Black. You can join him on the SB Nation platform for Mississippi State Athletics, for whom the cowbell tolls. Daniel, this is the first time on Mark Rogers TV. We appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
So Dan Mullen joined fellow coaches in Hoover, Alabama, and probably felt a little bit more at ease this year compared to last year, considering he was the target of not just the NCAA at that point and his program, but also the Southeastern Conference media. Because of that, he could focus a little bit more on his football team because everybody else is. Just your takeaway from Mullen's time at the podium and elsewhere.
It really was kind of uninteresting, I guess, which is a good thing if there's not any controversy swirling around the program. Last year, we had the situation with Jeffrey Simmons and the video that was released with him, and he was under fire for that. But this year, there really wasn't much of anything in particular. He just talked about the team, and he talked about guys like Nick Fitzgerald, who's coming in as a junior quarterback. Talk a lot. That was a main focus of his time at the podium, mentioning guys like Dak Prescott, who of course had a great season with the Cowboys. They discussed that and his development of other quarterbacks. So really, there was nothing in particular that he spoke of particular interest, with the exception of things like Nick Fitzgerald and others.
Hey, Daniel, the comment that Dan Mullen made at the conclusion of the bowl game win that required a blocked field goal to defeat Miami of Ohio, I believe 17-16, that stuck with me as Coach Mullen was leaving the field, asked about his team's performance that day and the entire season, was although Nick Fitzgerald had another very productive day, and the stats are eye-popping when you include the rushing and the passing and the total touchdowns, is that he needs to become more of a precision passer, a little bit more developed in his ability to deliver the football on time and make the right decisions downfield, and that really being the difference between Nick Fitzgerald making plays and being that kind of quarterback to being a guy that can be relied on down after down after down.
He's right. I mean, last year he threw 10 interceptions, had a 54% completion percentage, which isn't bad, but isn't great for a Southeastern Conference quarterback. But, I mean, he was just a sophomore. Dak Prescott, I think, is going to be the example that will be thrown around throughout this conversation. He wasn't a great passer his sophomore year. He threw only 10 touchdowns to 7 interceptions his sophomore year. The biggest development from Dan Mullen quarterbacks we've seen in the past is from his sophomore to his junior season. Nick Fitzgerald came into Mississippi State more as a straight up runner. He's a lot of colleges passed up on him. He's 6'5", 230. He obviously has the build. He has the intangibles to be a really good quarterback, which makes it appealing to go to a school like Mississippi State with a quarterback developer like Dan Mullen. But a lot of colleges passed on him because he was raw and he didn't have the pure talent per se that was eye-popping in high school. He was a raw passer, not developed, not skilled, and he showed signs of that his sophomore year. But going into this year, especially in the past with the development of Dak Prescott from his sophomore to junior year, I think we're going to see more of Nick Fitzgerald being a much more improved passer. He was a good passer last year, but not a great passer. But I think this year he'll be much improved, and we'll still see plenty of the run game that got him a lot of appeal last year as well.
And not surprisingly, if you look at the game log, the rougher days came against the likes of Alabama and LSU in particular, and also Auburn, talking about not just running, but throwing downfield. Now, how much of that is Nick Fitzgerald? How much of that are elite defenses matching up against wide receivers, not giving them space, and also busting through the line and not giving Fitzgerald time to throw? I think it's a pretty obvious mix of combination of issues that any quarterback in any offense faces when they face elite SEC defenses.